Are you ready to improve your IELTS speaking? If so, then join me for the next 2 hours for a 2-hour practice session. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to our 2-hour IELTS speaking practice. Today we'll go through different questions and topics just like the real exam. So make sure you have a notepad ready because I'll show you easy ways to speak better and feel more confident during your exam. So if you feel comfortable and ready, then let's get right into the video. So the IELTS speaking section is designed to assess your ability to speaking English and how comfortable you are in carrying on a discussion with the examiner. The IELTS speaking section has 3 different parts, and this discussion will last for about 15 minutes maximum. So within these 15 minutes, you need to know how exactly you should structure your essay and how exactly you should be responding to the examiner when he asks you a question. Just remember that this section is face-to-face, so the examiner will be sitting right with you, asking you questions. I know this sounds a bit intimidating, but if you just think of it as a casual, informal discussion, this is what it is. And remember, in the IELTS speaking section, you will be marked on natural spoken English and how comfortable you are in speaking natural spoken English. So what exactly is natural spoken English? Natural spoken English is also referred to as how native English speakers talk on a daily basis naturally. There's no reason why you need to use such formal, high vocabulary words. Rather, use words within the given context so that way you are able to show the examiner you understand what he's trying to ask you. So the IELTS speaking section is divided in 3 different parts. In the first part, he is going to ask you, the examiner is going to ask you questions about yourself, your family, your living arrangements, what your hobbies are, what your daily routine looks like, maybe what you like to do on the weekends. So the questions could vary in the IELTS speaking part 1. And then after that, he will proceed to IELTS speaking part 2. In the IELTS speaking part 2 section, you will be required to speak for a full 2 minutes on a few questions that you will have to answer. But before he makes you speak for a full 2 minutes, you have to prepare your answer, and the examiner will give you 1 minute to prepare your answer. So in this 1 minute time, you need to make sure that you quickly write down or brainstorm ideas of how exactly you are going to introduce the topic, how exactly you are going to answer the topic, so that way you are able to speak for a full 2 minutes. So after part 2, the examiner will proceed to IELTS speaking part 3. In the IELTS speaking part 3 section, the examiner may ask you questions that vary from the same topic he just asked you in part 2 in part 3. It's like an addition to the same type of questions, but sometimes the questions may vary, so you need to be ready to answer these questions. And the biggest tip I can give for you for part 2 and part 3 is to answer each, and part 1 I should say, is to answer each question within 3 to 4 sentences. Do not ramble on and keep talking about an answer, because the examiner will stop you, and this does not look good. You will get a low band if you do this. And speaking of practice, ladies, if you're looking to join a community where you will be able to practice your speaking, then you might find my IELTS Speaking Ladies Club really interesting. This ladies club is actually hosted over Zoom. I actually teach you ladies. We go over different IELTS speaking mock tests. I give you feedback, and I give you any suggestions, tips on anywhere I think you can improve on. If you are interested in this ladies club, make sure you join down below. I've made it specifically for those of you who are stay-at-home moms, who have lots of responsibility of taking care of your children, and maybe you want to learn English from home and you want to become that confident English speaker check the description box down below. So the IELTS speaking section assesses your ability and how well you are able to speak natural spoken English. Let me say that again. It assesses your ability to speak natural spoken English. What does natural spoken English mean? So natural spoken English means how native English speakers talk on a daily basis. So in the IELTS speaking section, this is what you will be assessed on. You don't need to use such high vocabulary words, but you need to be able to speak in a very casual, informal manner, just the way English speakers speak on a daily basis. So in this video, I'm going to provide you with expert advice on how you could speak natural spoken English, so make sure you continue watching. So there are 3 different parts in the IELTS speaking section. In part 1, the examiner is just trying to get to know you, what exactly your living arrangements are, such as if you're living in a house or an apartment, how many bedrooms your house has maybe, what's your family size, how many children you have, if you're married, single. He may even ask you a question like why you're taking the IELTS exam. You need to be prepared to answer these questions in full sentences, and you need to be able to use related vocabulary that is given within the context. He may even ask you what your favorite sport is in IELTS Speaking Part 1. So just make sure you speak in full sentences and you don't give answers that are more than 3 to 4 sentences. The maximum should be 4 sentences for each question that's asked in IELTS Speaking Part 1, so remember that. After IELTS Speaking Part 1, the examiner will proceed to IELTS Speaking Part 2. In IELTS Speaking Part 2, the examiner will give you a list of questions. These are called cue card questions, and he will give you 1 minute to prepare for your answer. So within that 1 minute, you need to make sure that you quickly jot down notes or brainstorm ideas of how exactly you are going to talk about this for a full 2 minutes. So while you are preparing your answer, remember to also prepare how you are going to introduce your topic to the examiner and how you are going to conclude your topic. So you're not just going to tell him, okay, I'm done. You need to have a clear transition between that last question you are talking about and your conclusion. Then after IELTS Speaking Part 2, you will be moved on to Part 3. In Part 3, the examiner will ask you a different variety of questions. This could relate to the same questions he asked you in Part 2, but sometimes it may not relate to questions that he asked you in Part 2. So in the IELTS Speaking Part 3 section, you need to be able to answer the questions once again in full sentences. Remember that Part 3 is kind of like an informal discussion. Don't use any slang and speak in full sentences. Don't just answer the question directly. Speak once again for 3 sentences, I'd say maximum, for each given question in IELTS Speaking Part 3. And guys, if you like this video so far, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Let's get right back into this video. So have a look at some IELTS speaking preparation tips on things you need to consider before exam day. The first thing you need to do is familiarize yourself with the different question types and how exactly the examiner will go from Part 1 to Part 2 to Part 3. So remember that you need to familiarize yourself with the question types you may be asked in each given question, and if you need some help or you are wondering what type of questions you will be asked in Part 1, 2, and 3, make sure you check out this playlist up above. I'll also put it down in the description box so you have it for the end of this video and you are able to go through the video to see some sample questions and answers. And one thing I want to mention is please do not try to memorize the answers for these sample questions and answers. Instead, just get an idea of how exactly or what format is used when answering a question to get a high band. And the second tip I have for you is that you should find ways to practice speaking English every single day. Whether you have a friend you could practice with, or maybe joining an online community, maybe a local Facebook community group where you are able to practice speaking English with somebody. This will help you improve your English drastically, meaning you will see very quick results. If you are able to practice at least for 20 minutes a day, you will see a big improvement in your English speaking skills. And if you want to know how exactly you should practice your English speaking skills for 20 minutes a day, check out the video in the description box down below, because I have a video in my description box of how you can improve your English by practicing for 20 minutes daily. And the third tip is, while you are practicing your English every day with a native English speaker, you need to make sure you are also developing your pronunciation, your vocabulary, and your fluency. Remember, one big part that you will be marked on in the IELTS speaking section is how correctly you are pronouncing words and how fluent you are pronouncing a word. The biggest tip I recommend for practicing your pronunciation skills is literally, if you don't know how to pronounce a word, go to dictionary.com, enter in the word, and then you will see a little speaker button where you are able to listen how exactly this word is pronounced.
Monsoon.
Then try to take the word and say it out loud, pronounce it out loud in a sentence. And another great way of practicing pronunciation is, once you know how to pronounce that word, take it and say it out loud in a sentence to yourself, or maybe with a friend. That vocabulary word you just learned will be retained in your long-term memory, so you are able to use it on exam day. And guys, the fourth tip I have for you is to check out my videos on different IELTS speaking questions and answers I have answered. As I mentioned earlier, take a look at these to get a general idea of what type of answer you need to give to score a high band on your IELTS speaking exam. And while I'm on this topic on preparation tips, I want to give you some advice on how exactly you can stay calm on exam day, so that way you are not feeling nervous. It's so important that you feel confident in what you are saying on exam day, because believe me, if you feel a bit nervous or overwhelmed before the exam starts, the speaking section, you won't be able to respond to the examiner's answer. So guys, you need to stay calm. Remember that it's just an informal discussion between you and the examiner. You need to talk in natural spoken English. Don't try to use big vocabulary words you don't know how to pronounce. If you forget how to pronounce it, try to use another synonym word to cover it up, so that way you are able to get a high band, guys. This is so important in the IELTS speaking exam. Please do not use words you are not familiar with, because maybe you know how to pronounce it, but you're using the word in the wrong context. Like, it's so off topic that it's going to end up getting you a low band. So don't try to use words you're not familiar with, is what I'm trying to say. So as you know, the IELTS speaking exam, the examiner actually uses some criterias when you do enter the exam room to ensure if you are able to score a higher band based on your English proficiency. So this is just what he assesses you on. And a lot of students actually don't even take a look at the band descriptors. And it's so essential that you actually understand what the examiner requires of you before you even start your practice. I would say is you should be taking a look at the band descriptors, what is expected of you, and how exactly you can reach these goals. So there are 4 different band descriptors the examiner actually grades you on. And I quickly wanted to go through each one. Sorry about that. I'm just getting my notes. So the first one I wanted to discuss is, the first one is lexical resource. So what is lexical resource? Lexical resource is all about the vocabulary words you use. It's based on the context you are discussing and your ability to just use different synonym words, different language. So the examiner actually gets an idea of your capability of speaking English. So how exactly could you improve your lexical resource or improve your vocabulary? There are certain ways. So the best ways are to expand your vocabulary, right? So you need to start reading widely. Read different articles, read different communication posts, right? Different newspapers, so that way you are actually able to expand your vocabulary on different topics that the examiner may ask you. And also another thing I wanted to mention is that when you actually learn different vocabulary words, it's so essential that you actually keep a journal with you where you are actually writing down the new words you use. Then I actually want you to look up the words in the dictionary and write the words in your own sentence, guys. Once you write the words in your own, there are multiple steps because this is the only way you will actually remember using these words on exam day. And once you write the words on in your notebook or in your journal, then I actually want you to make an effort to use these words in a conversation you are having with a friend, right? So if you are able to use the word or practice using the word in a conversation with a friend and ask your friend or whoever you're talking to, like, hey, did I use this word correctly? Or did I use it in the right context? Asking for feedback is super essential to knowing if you need to improve, if you have used the word correctly, and this is what's going to help you. Second is you need to make sure that you use the proper words if you want to get a high band in lexical resource, right? So use different synonym words, learn them, right? So if you don't know different synonym words for a particular phrase or use different phrases, this is what's going to help you. Next is fluency and coherence. So what is fluency and coherence? Fluency and coherence is pretty much how you are able to fluently and coherently discuss your ideas. So how you structure your answer, how exactly you are able to clearly give your answer, respond to the examiner, speaking in a clear manner. You're not redundant. This is what's going to help you. So the best way to improve your fluency and coherence is to practice speaking regularly, guys. If you are able to regularly practice speaking, maybe have different conversation partners, time yourself as well. Being able to time yourself will actually help you simulate a live exam, and that way you are able to see where you need improvement on. Do you need improvement on talking less, right? If you time yourself, then you know, okay, well, not only time yourself, I would say record yourself as well. When you record yourself, you actually listen to it and see if you are just being redundant in your answer, meaning are you just repeating yourself over and over again, saying the same thing, or is your answer clear and to the point? And the third IELTS speaking band descriptor I wanted to talk about is pronunciation. Pronunciation is super essential in improving your pronunciation or mastering it. So because one of the IELTS speaking band descriptors are on pronunciation, one strategy I like to give to a lot of my students is that when the examiner is asking you a question, do not use a word you are not familiar or you are not comfortable, I should say, that you are not comfortable pronouncing, guys. This is going to affect your band score. You want to make sure that you use words that you are comfortable pronouncing, so that way the examiner could give you a high band. Remember that this is a informal discussion with you and the examiner, so you don't need to use big vocabulary words that you'll have a hard time pronouncing. Rather, use words you are comfortable pronouncing. And the best way to improve your pronunciation is by learning the phonetic alphabet, guys. Learning the phonetic alphabet is really going to help you learn how at certain times the letter A sounds, because the letter A, for example, in the English alphabet, A doesn't always sound the same. It could have different sounds at different times. So if you are able to learn word stress, sentence stress, the phonetic alphabet, this is what's going to help you really understand how to pronounce certain words, for example. And also the best way is, like I said, record your answers when you are actually practicing your pronunciation, and compare it to a native English speaker, so that way you know exactly how to pronounce words or if you need to improve on it. So hey, listen, if you need any help in improving pronunciation or fluency, coherence, or lexical resource, or any of these band descriptors, then I highly recommend you take a look at our IELTS Speaking Band 7 in 7 days course. We actually swear by this course. It's helped hundreds of students succeed in their IELTS exam, getting a band 7, 8, or 9 only within 7 days of studying. So if you want quick results, you don't want to waste time on Google, on YouTube all day long, then I highly recommend this course. Is definitely for you. I will link the course in the description box below in case you are interested. Next, I wanted to talk about grammatical range and accuracy. So grammatical range and accuracy is actually the last band descriptor the IELTS speaking examiner will be grading you on. So this criteria is super important because the examiner is actually going to grade you on your ability to use different sentence structures, right? So you have to use complex sentences, compound sentences, simple sentences. So that way you are showing the examiner your ability to speak English comfortably. So the best way to improve on these different sentence structures is by practicing, right? So number one, for grammar, you have to practice different. You should learn the most important grammar rules that you need to know for IELTS speaking. I have linked down below an IELTS speaking grammar bootcamp, 7-day bootcamp for all the essential grammar rules you need to know. If you are interested, check the link below for that exact bootcamp. And back to sentence structures, this is really going to help you express your ideas clearly with precision, right? So this is what I recommend, is that you are actually, you learn these different sentence structures. So I'll take questions at the end So as I mentioned, really, let me put my laptop down. You really need to practice these different strategies or band descriptor requirements so you are able to get a high band, guys. Do not go into the exam without really knowing what is expected of you. So before the IELTS speaking section starts, you will be waiting in the waiting area until the examiner calls out your name. I'm going to give you some sample answers so you get an idea of how you should introduce yourself. So when you enter the room, sometimes the examiner has a little chit chat with you, asking you why you're taking the IELTS exam, who you are. But sometimes he gets right into the questions and just starts recording the IELTS speaking test. A great indicator for you to know when the exact IELTS speaking test starts and when he's just having a chit chat with you is when he says this exam will be recorded. The first question he's going to ask you is, what is your name? My full name is Michael, but my friends call me Mike. So what should I call you? You can call me Mike. When he asks you, can I see your passport? You say, yes, sure, here you go. One tip I have for you is don't just silently hand him the passport. Try to respond to the question he is asking you. If you are able to do this, this is a perfect way to impress the examiner right from the beginning. Where are you from? Well, I'm from Ontario, which is a province located in Canada. Just remember that these questions will usually be asked in the IELTS Speaking Part 1 section. And remember that you don't need to use any high vocabulary words. Just try to speak in full sentences. And when I say to speak in full sentences, try to give a minimum of 2 to 3 sentences for each question asked. Where is your hometown? Well, my hometown is in Uzbekistan, but because I was born and raised in Canada, I consider Canada as my hometown. So questions about your hometown may be asked in all 3 parts of the IELTS speaking exam. So I will provide you with sample questions and answers. So before we continue, as I mentioned, there are 3 different parts in the IELTS speaking exam. So in the first part, the examiner may just ask you basic questions about your hometown. In part 2, the examiner may ask you about your hometown and you will be required to speak for a full 2 minutes about your hometown. And then part 3, he may ask you one question about your hometown, and then once you answer, he may ask you another question. But don't worry, I will get into details for each single part so you have a better understanding of what to expect. So let's talk about the type of questions you may see in part 1. In part 1, you may see a question such as, where is your hometown located? So the way I would answer this question is say, I come from a beautiful city that is located in the northeastern part of Uzbekistan, which is close to the borders of Kazakhstan. My beautiful country is located in Central Asia. So guys, it's extremely important that when you are answering any questions related to your hometown in part 1, you do not just give one-word answers. You should make sure you speak in full sentences because this is what the examiner is actually looking for, and try to emphasize on your sentences explaining where you come from. Number 2, what is the name of the town where you come from? So I would answer with, the hustle and bustle and beautiful scenic parks throughout the streets of Tashkent make me proud to say I am originally from there. Tashkent is the city where I come from. If you noticed, I used the word hustle and bustle. Hustle and bustle often refers to somewhere that's very busy, that's extremely busy, that the streets are filled with people and cars. So one thing to know about the IELTS speaking exam is try to use words like hustle and bustle because this will show your confidence in speaking English during the IELTS speaking questions. So let's look at the third question. How long have you been living in your hometown? I was born and raised in Tashkent. I lived in Tashkent for 35 years and came to Canada 2 years ago. Let's take a look at another question you may get. Describe your hometown. What is it like? Tashkent has a lot to offer and is the capital of Uzbekistan. First, the beautiful historic architecture of old monuments from the 17th century is stunning to see. The beauty of Uzbekistan is that it is known as one of the main routes that tradesmen would pass through on the Silk Roads. The magnificent palaces and greenery are something that everyone loves about Tashkent. So as you can see, I used some high vocabulary words throughout my answer. So the first vocabulary word I used is historic monuments. Historic monuments means old ancient buildings or something that has been existing for a very long time, such as architecture, a building. And next, I use the word magnificent palaces. So what exactly does magnificent palaces mean? This means that there are structures that are the king's palace or the queen's palace. These are known to be magnificent. So guys, let's take a look at another question you may get. Is your hometown big or small? The size of Tashkent in kilometers is no more than 400 kilometers, with Kazakhstan being on the west side and Kyrgyzstan being on the east side. So as you guys see, I emphasized by mentioning the nearby countries. So let's look at another question. What do you enjoy most about the town where you come from? The generosity and hospitality of the Uzbek people are something that can't be compared. Even if you ask a stranger in Uzbekistan for any sort of help, they are ready to help you like they are a family member. This is something I really appreciate most. And here is another question. What is one thing you find challenging in your hometown? One thing I found very challenging when living in Uzbekistan before I left in 2015 was its unstable internet. Although this may not be a big deal for some people, it made it hard for me to attend my classes throughout my university life. Here's another question. What has changed about your hometown since you last lived there? As I mentioned earlier, I struggled with the internet connection being stable when I left Tashkent. However, my sister who currently lives there told me there are many new internet providers who offer a better connection. If you can make any changes to your hometown, what would it be? One adjustment I would like to see is that Tashkent advertises itself to more tourism. The country recently made that change. However, it should be advertised more so everybody can know about and see the beautiful country. Now let's take a look at the type of questions you may see in IELTS Speaking Part 2. As I mentioned earlier, IELTS Speaking Part 2, the examiner will give you a question about your hometown possibly, and then you will be required to talk about this for a full 2 minutes. Right before you talk, the examiner will give you 1 minute to prepare your answer. If you are not sure how to prepare your answer or how to brainstorm ideas to talk about in that full 2 minutes, then check out my video that I've linked right above, and this will guide you on how to brainstorm and use your 1 minute wisely. So let's take a look at the first question. The first question says, describe the town where you are originally from. You should say, what languages do people speak? One thing you like about your hometown and one thing you dislike about your hometown. So I am going to put on a 2-minute timer and let's see if I can speak for a full 2 minutes to ensure that I can cover all the parts of the requirements for IELTS Speaking Part 2. The beauty of my beloved country, Uzbekistan, has so much to offer to everyone. I am originally from the capital, known as Tashkent. There are many historic monuments in Tashkent, making it extra special that these structures are still standing from the 17th century. That being said, there is a wide range of languages spoken in Uzbekistan. Because of the Russian influence in the country, many Uzbeks speak the Russian language and other Turkic dialects. However, the main spoken language of Tashkent is Uzbek. One thing I really admire about Tashkent is its metro system. With the trains being known as one of the fastest of the world, each train station has so much architecture to offer. Each station was built with different historic artifacts to learn more about the different parts of Central Asia. That being said, there are not that many cons I can think of about Uzbekistan or Tashkent. But one thing we struggled with was the inconsistency of the electricity. There were many times we would have power outages throughout the day, which made it challenging to plan the day to cook or clean because I never knew when the electricity would be out. To wrap up, the history and people of Tashkent will always hold a special place in my heart, especially because they are very generous and hospitable. So guys, as you see, I actually spoke for a full 2 minutes. This is extremely important in IELTS Speaking Part 2. And as I mentioned, if you are not sure how you can do this, I give you a step-by-step guide of how you can brainstorm ideas in the video listed above. And also, just before I move on, the IELTS Speaking Part 2, if you are able to say 4 full sentences for each point. That way you know that you can speak for a full 2 minutes and not get marks taken off simply because you couldn't follow instructions. So IELTS Speaking Part 3 is more of an informal discussion between you and the examiner. And in this part, the examiner will be asking you one question at a time. These questions could get scattered between, let's say, questions about your hometown and then suddenly something about your culture. So you just need to be prepared and listen well, but you should only aim to speak for maybe 2 sentences for each question that the examiner is asking you. So let's get right into IELTS Speaking Part 3 and what type of questions you may see. What are some improvements that can be made in your hometown? The many construction sites and road closures create lots of traffic in Tashkent, making it difficult for us to get around the city. Number 2, why do you think people want to stay in their hometown? Many locals in Tashkent don't plan to leave Uzbekistan because of the low cost of living and because of the comfort they have in their own country. Personally, I think people don't want to leave their hometown for other countries because of the same reasons. So let's take a look at another question. What is one thing most people like about your hometown? Most people love the food of Uzbekistan. Not only is it cheap, but it's extremely delicious. Everyone knows about the fresh bread they can get for a few cents and the mouth-watering traditional beef and rice dish called palau. So here's another question. What are the advantages of knowing more than one language? There have been many studies done, and research shows that people who are bilingual often have an added advantage throughout their academics, making it easy to solve problems in their lives. Do you think it's beneficial to grow up in a small town? I think growing up in a small town has many pros, especially because you know everyone and it's a tight-knit community. Everyone is able to look over your shoulder and help you in times of need. So what does tight-knit community mean? It describes a community that is very close to one another. So everybody within the community knows each other, helps each other out, and the neighborhood is quite small. And next, as you see, I use the word look over your shoulder. Look over your shoulder pretty much means somebody who is always aware of your surroundings and help you out when you are in danger, or if something bad is about to happen to you or your belongings, they are always there to help you. Why do you think people move to rural areas? So before we begin, let's describe what exactly is a rural area. A rural area is a place where there's not that many homes, so you don't live in a neighborhood full of houses. Rather, the houses are far apart from one another. Many people prefer to live away from city life, mainly because of the traffic and the lesser population of people in rural areas. Growing up, it used to take my dad 40 minutes to drive me to school every morning in Tashkent because of the rush hour. So let's talk about what rush hour means. As you could see here in the picture, rush hour means when a place is very busy, and usually rush hour only happens at a particular time of the day. So when native English speakers use the word rush hour, that usually means in the morning before people are going to school or work, and afterwards when they are coming home from school or work. So that's the term we use during these times of the day. And this is an idiom you can use to show the examiner that you are confident in your speech when you are giving your answers. So let's look at the next question. What factors do people consider before moving to a different town? There are many aspects to consider before relocating. Some of these include availability of jobs in the town and maybe a special educational institute someone may prefer for their kids. So as you see in my answer, I gave 2 reasons of why someone may move to a different town. So let's take a look at the last question for today. What is one big festival that happens in your country? Every year, Uzbekistan holds one of the largest events in the country called Baisun Bahari. The festival brings together thousands of attendees that enjoy traditional Uzbek food, lots of dance performances, and professional matches. One thing I love about this event is that the location of the scenic views of being surrounded by mountains make it more enjoyable. So I want to talk about some descriptive words you can use when you are describing your hometown to the examiner. Let's get right into this video. So some descriptive words you could use is when you are describing what types of architecture are all around your hometown. When looking at this view here, I can say something like, my hometown includes lots of high-rise buildings that are beautiful in architecture, and there are many people who live in condominiums in my hometown. Or you can even say something like, in my hometown, we actually have a clock tower that everybody could see within the city. This is great. You can actually see the time from a distance. So remember that when you are describing your hometown, whether you are being asked questions about describing the scenic views. There are so many different vocabulary words you could use to describe infrastructure such as this one, where you can say there are so many beautiful buildings that have been designed with such beautiful infrastructure in my hometown. You can also mention things like my hometown actually offers a lot of children's activities such as skating, activities for the kids, maybe a place to ride their bike or to rollerblades. There are many different libraries within my hometown that I love taking my kids to, so they are able to enjoy the activities for families, which is great because families are always looking to keep their children occupied, and lots of families love to live in this city. So remember that when you are describing your hometown, maybe what you like about your hometown in general is maybe the transportation system. You can discuss things like, I really enjoy living in my hometown because I work downtown and I find the transportation system to be so convenient for me when I just need to hop on the subway and get to my work. These are all great words you can use, guys. And remember that when you are in fact describing your transportation system, you could use so many different methods of transportation when you are discussing, such as maybe bus as a form of transportation, or maybe you take the train as a form of transportation. Another thing you could mention is how easily accessible everything is within your hometown. So something you can say is, honestly, I love living in this city because I find that everything is walking distance between my home and whatever I need to get to. I live right by the mall, which is very convenient, and right by the grocery store. So literally, I don't even need a car because everything is within walking premises from my home. So when you're talking about walking premises literally means you don't need a car or bus to get to where you want to go. It literally means that you are able to step out of your house and walk to the destination because it's so close. So guys, remember these vocabulary words when you are actually responding to the examiner about your hometown. This is so important to get a high band. So the next question that you may get is there reliable public transportation in your hometown? You could say something like, I remember taking the bus every morning to reach my high school. It only took me 10 minutes because the transportation system is very fast and dependable. So if you see, I tried to use, once again, no words from the question. And this is something that I keep saying, but you definitely need to keep it in mind. Because although the question seems easy to answer, the examiner is looking for a lot more for your answer, such as more sentences, more explanation, and everything along these lines. So let's look at another question. What room is the best part of your entire house? An answer that would score you a high band would be, I love spending some time in the living room because the windows face the backyard where I see many animals like deer every day. So here are some IELTS vocabulary that you could use throughout your answers for the speaking section. So some vocabulary when you are trying to compare and contrast a particular sentence, you could use words such as however, in comparison to, compared to, similar to. So here is a sentence, an example sentence you would be able to use these words in. Taking the bus takes so long compared to driving somewhere. So words to describe some similarities that you can use is also similarly, equally similar. There are so many errands I have to run today. I also must do laundry. And if you want to use a word that you're trying to describe something in detail, you could use although, but, mainly. And an example sentence would be, although I have worked till 5 p.m., I have to pick up my son at 3:15. So for reasoning, if you are trying to give a reason for something in your IELTS speaking section, you could use words like because of this, since, and a sample sentence would be, it snowed a lot yesterday. Because of this, I want to make sure I take extra caution on the road today. And last but not least, when you are combining a sentence or a thought in your IELTS speaking section, you could use words such as additionally, in addition, next, and here is a sample sentence. First, we went to buy groceries. Next, I went to get a haircut. So guys, I would highly recommend that you at least use one or two of these vocabulary words within each section of the IELTS speaking exam, just because this will show the examiner that you are able to connect sentences in a concise manner clearly. In the IELTS Speaking Part 2 section, you will be given a list of questions where you will be required to speak for a full 2 minutes. However, when the examiner hands you the questions, he will give you 1 minute to prepare your answer. So it is very important that you take advantage of this 1 minute you are given to brainstorm ideas on what you are going to say. We will be discussing 5 easy steps you should take when you are given your IELTS Speaking Part 2 section that will help you speak for a full 2 minutes. So the first step is, once you are given the questions, you need to start preparing your outline. And in your outline, you need to make sure that if you are given 4 questions, you write 3 to 4 points about each question you are given. Guys, this is very important because this will help you speak for a full 2 minutes. So now that you've learned about step 1, we are going to implement step 1 for this particular question. So the question we are looking at for the IELTS Speaking Part 2 section that you may get is, describe your favorite picture. Who took the picture? Where was it taken? What can you see from the picture? And why was this picture something you liked? So as I mentioned, preparing an outline for the IELTS Speaking Part 2 question is essential in order to score a high band and to make the best time out of that 1 minute the examiner is giving you to prepare your answer. So let's look at the outline that I prepared for the question that you just saw earlier. So for the questions we were given, we are required to answer 5 questions in those list of questions that we were given. So the first question, we need to describe our favorite picture, which is the introduction of your 2-minute discussion for the IELTS Speaking Part 2 section. Then we need to discuss who took the picture, where it was taken, and what can you see from the picture happening? And then, why do you like this picture? So for the first question, I quickly jotted down that this picture was a photo of mom and dad at my wedding. It was a funny moment, something to remember. The second question asks, who took the picture? Father was going to take it last minute, brother during cake cutting. Then next is where it was taken. At the banquet hall, wedding reception, Toronto, cake table. Number 4, the fourth question was, what can you see from the picture? Father trying to feed me chocolate cake, but the cake fell on my dress. Mom trying to clean my dress, huge smudge on my dress. Number 5, why do you like this picture? memorable moment, sentimental day, was not upset, a picture to remember. So as you see, guys, for each question, I made sure I jotted down 3 to 4 points, because each point that has been written here in italic form will be said in one sentence. So each question, as I mentioned, you should speak for 4 full sentences in order to allow you to speak for a full 2 minutes. So step 2 is, in the process of brainstorming your ideas in that 1 minute, think about how you are going to introduce the topic, and think about how you are going to conclude your discussion, because you don't want the examiner thinking, are you done speaking or are you not done? So you need to make sure that you have a smooth transition between your answers and your concluding sentence. So let's refer back to the outline again. So in the outline, I wrote a few points that I am going to include in my introduction and in my conclusion in order to ensure that I could complete this 2-minute discussion on time and not get stopped halfway while I'm thinking about my points. So the first is the introduction, which I'm going to discuss that this was a photo of my mom and dad at my wedding, funny moments, something to remember. And then in the conclusion, I will conclude my discussion by saying I was not upset and this was a picture to remember. So as you see, I didn't even write lots of words, just 1 to 2 words, reminding myself what I'm going to say in the introduction and the conclusion. If you want to know how you can sound like a native speaker and how you can introduce your topic and conclude your topic, check out my video up above. Step 3 is that when you are about to speak before your conversation, you have to mentally tell yourself that you are going to answer each question that you are given in 4 sentences. You should aim for 3 to 4 sentences max, because this will help you fill in the gaps of you being able to complete your discussion in exactly 2 minutes, guys. So just remember that you have to speak for a full 2 minutes, so you must be able to answer each question in 4 sentences. So just to refer back to the outline, in the outline, as you see, I have jotted down 3 to 4 points for each question, because I know that I have to speak for 4 sentences about each question that was provided in the IELTS Speaking Part 2 section. So in order to speak for a full 2 sentences, you need to have lots of ideas to continuously speak about that particular question. Let's talk about step 4. Step 4 you may think is a little bit funny, but you know what? If this is going to help you speak for a full 2 minutes, then go for it. So as I mentioned in step 3, you should prepare to speak for 4 sentences for each given question. So step 4 is that try to count on your fingers while you are talking, so you are able to keep track of what you are saying and move on to the next question. Step 5 is that you should use vocabulary that's related to the given topic. The reason why is you want to be able to show the examiner that you are able to speak like a native English speaker, and that you are able to pull out words that's related to the context that you are talking about. So let's look at some vocabulary words that relate to the given context that we are going to discuss in our answer that will help us score a high band. So these red fonts are something like funny moment, something to remember, at the banquet hall, memorable moment, sentimental day, a picture to remember. These are certain vocabulary words that we are going to discuss in our IELTS Speaking Part 2 question to score a high band. So guys, if you are not sure what type of vocabulary words that you can use, then check out my video up above. So now we are going to set a timer for 2 minutes to see if we could answer the IELTS Speaking Part 2 question in a full 2 minutes. Before I set the 2-minute timer, I just wanted to let you know the words that are bolded are the words that we have included in our outline, since these are words that we should be discussing in our answer. So have a look at the bolded words while I'm reading the text, just so you get an idea of how the outline connects to the answer for the IELTS Speaking Part 2 question. I'll never forget the most amusing photo taken of my mom and dad at my wedding. The photographer had captured this moment perfectly, especially because the incident that happened at that moment was definitely something to remember. The funny thing was, my father was actually originally taking the photo of my mom and brother while I was cutting the cake. But then my brother called my father last minute to get in the photo while he stepped out. So my brother ended up taking the photo of my parents and me. So my brother takes a photo of me cutting the cake. Where we had our wedding was at the most gorgeous banquet hall called Paradise Banquets. My wedding reception was very formal and in the evening, which was located north of Toronto. The waiter had put the cake on a cake table located in the reception hall, and the space was a bit narrow, so it was hard to move around. So my father was trying to feed me a piece of chocolate cake that I cut, when a big piece of cake fell on my dress and the photographer snapped the photo at the perfect moment. It's because my mom was trying to clean my dress in the photo, but you see a huge stain on my dress in the picture. The picture is such a humorous and memorable moment, especially because my wedding was such a sentimental day. The funny thing was, I was not upset at all when the incident happened. Honestly, it's definitely a picture to remember and to have a good laugh about. At least now we have something to look back on every time we want to remember my wedding day. So let's have a look at some IELTS Speaking Part 2 sample questions. So as I mentioned, in this part, you will be given a question, an overall question, and 3 to 4 subpoints that you have to include in your answer. So the question here is, describe a time someone gave you advice. You should say if the advice was good or bad, what the advice was about, and if you appreciated the advice or not. So when the examiner lets you know of the question, he will give you 1 minute to prepare a 2-minute full answer. So when I say 2-minute full answer, what I mean by this is you need to make sure you speak for a full 2 minutes, not 1.5 minutes or 1 minute, because you will be given a low band. So make sure that you cover all these points into detail. When I was younger, my mom would always advise me to save my money and not spend it on useless things. To be honest, when she would give me this advice, I wouldn't listen to her because I loved eating at my favorite restaurant. However, now that I remember this advice, she was absolutely right. Although I didn't appreciate the advice she gave me at the time, when I got older and wiser, it is a piece of advice that has always been on my mind. So here is another question. Describe your daily routine. You should say what you do daily, how you manage your time, and what the most important task of your day is. And here's an answer. To be honest, ever since I became a mom, I find that I am very strict on my routine. The main reason is that it helps me stay on track with my school, work, and kids. After I drop the kids to school, I work out for an hour, then I start my job. Since I have a remote job, I am able to make lunch during my lunch hour. When I pick my kids up around 3:30. When I get home, that was lunch hour. Then I pick my kids up around 3:30. When they get home, we spend time together as a family and they go to bed at 8 p.m. every night. The most important task of my day is going to the gym because I want to make sure I am healthy enough to be able to take care of my kids and myself. So if you noticed in this answer, I made sure that I covered every single point that the examiner had asked me in the question. So the first question is asking you, describe someone in your family that inspires you. Who is it? What is your relationship with him or her? Why do you find him or her inspirational, and what his or her achievements were that make them inspirational? So guys, one thing before I move on is that you should not memorize these answers. These answers were written for you just to get a general idea of how you should answer your questions. So let's look at this answer. I have a very big extended family, but there is one cousin of mine who I find inspiring. She is someone I often ask for any life advice on my education or struggles I am facing. The advice she gives is never judgmental. She is quite knowledgeable in the life decisions she's made. I find her very inspirational because she's the director of her department at one of the top tier hospitals, and she only has her bachelor's. But because of her perseverance and hard work, she managed to work hard toward the achievements she has worked toward today. So let's move on to the second IELTS Speaking Part 2 sample question. Describe a website you visit often. What is the website? Why do you visit this website? And what would you change about this website? Ismailia is a blogger whom I have been following for years now. Her honesty with motherhood and the loss of her baby at stillbirth make her stories so much more imaginable. I really enjoy visiting her lifestyle blog because she gives honest advice on the pros and cons of motherhood and how to deal with such hardships of life. If I could change one thing about her blog, it would probably be if she could add more videos throughout her posts, because this would only make it more relatable. I will provide you with some IELTS speaking test sample questions that relate to family and 3 easy steps where you will be able to speak for a full 2 minutes. So for the sake of this video, we will be looking at this particular IELTS speaking test sample question. It says, describe a family tradition you follow yearly. You should say what you do at the event, where the event is held, why you follow this family tradition, and then you have to explain why you look forward to this family tradition. So step 1 is that when the examiner hands you your question, you will be given 1 minute to brainstorm ideas or outline your ideas before you have to answer the question. So once again, we are going to break down this IELTS speaking test sample question that you just saw earlier in this video. So a general rule of thumb that I usually tell my students is you should brainstorm 3 to 4 ideas for each given question the examiner is asking you guys. This will help you be able to speak for a full 2 minutes without thinking of ideas while you are talking. So let's look at how our outline or brainstorm should look. So the first question asks us to describe a family tradition we follow yearly. So the family tradition I follow with my family is we celebrate Eid 2 times a year. Then the next question asks what you do at this event. We usually get gifts for the kids, decorate the house, bake sweets, and buy a cake. The next question asks where the event is usually held. The event is usually held in a park, party room, or restaurant, depending on the weather. Why you should follow this family tradition. Kids get excited, gives them a sense of how Eid is, and it brings the families together. Explain why you look forward to this family tradition. We get to see the entire family spend time together, dress up in a nice outfit. So step 2, while you are preparing your outline, is that you should try to use related vocabulary words in the given context. So here we will be talking about a family tradition, so we will ensure that we use words that relate to a family tradition. So before I continue, guys, if you like this video, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel and make sure you hit that notification bell so you are notified when I put out videos. So step 3, guys, the third step that you need to follow in order to be able to talk for a full 2 minutes is that when you are giving your answer, you should give an answer of 4 sentences for each question that is asked. Minimize it to 3, but maximize it to 4 sentences. So now let's take a look at how exactly we would answer this question. A family custom we actually celebrate is making our holiday Eid into a bigger celebration. We actually celebrate Eid twice a year, so we do follow these traditions for both holidays, especially because it brings so much joy between families. Preparing for Eid is such a blast for the kids, especially because, honestly, I usually involve them during every step because it makes them so excited for the coming days. First, a few days before Eid, I usually decorate the house by hanging up lights or some sort of decorations, and then I wrap their gifts and I let them help me wrap the gifts that I buy for their cousins. They get so excited during the process of wrapping gifts and helping me bake the sweets. It's honestly such a precious moment to see. The event is usually held at a park or party room or restaurant, but honestly, it depends on the weather because the day of Eid always changes depending on the moon. So every year, Eid usually goes 10 days back, and so we are not usually sure how the weather is going to be. To be honest, the main reason why we celebrate this family tradition is because the kids get so excited and it brings them together, which gives them the sense of how Eid should be celebrated, and it also brings the adults together and where everybody, all the family is together and they are just enjoying their time together. Truthfully, the main reason why I really enjoy this family tradition is because I get to see the entire family. We spend time together, we build memories together, and everyone gets to dress up in a nice outfit, making them feel great while enjoying great food and company.
Describe an athlete you admire. You should say who it is, what sport he played, why you admire him, and then how you discovered him or her. Describe an athlete you admire. You should say who it is. So one person I really appreciate as an athlete is the famous World Cup player Cristiano Ronaldo. I really, really appreciate his talent in playing soccer because he has scored many goals in the past. So that was 4 sentences. So what sport he plays? Cristiano Ronaldo is known to play soccer in Portugal. He is an amazing player and his skills are like no other. He scores amazing goals and he's a very inspirational person. That was 4 sentences. Why you admire him? To be honest, one reason why I really appreciate him and find him very inspirational is because not only is he known for his soccer skills, but he's known for his humanitarian work in the past. And I think that is more admirable than just someone who has good soccer skills. However, other than that, he is very talented within his career as a soccer athlete, and he is known to score the most goals within a season. So that was 4 sentences. How you discovered him or her. The day I actually discovered him is when my husband showed me a few of his videos and told me to really pay attention to the way this athlete steals the ball and is able to have so much control over a soccer ball and getting in that goal. So if you put all these sentences together, you are likely to speak for a full 2 minutes. This is Kamal from India. Kamal and I had a speaking mock test where I scored him a 6.5. So I want you to carefully listen to the conversation him and I had. Make sure you keep watching because you'll actually find the feedback quite useful if you are preparing for the IELTS speaking test. Hi, welcome to the IELTS speaking exam. Can you tell me your name?
Hi, my name is Kamaljit Singh and my friend usually call me Kamal.
Okay, and do you study or work?
Well, now I'm working, but before I was studying.
Okay, and how do you commute to work every day?
Every day I commute by my own car.
Okay.
And it's my job is from 9 to 5. So casually I work on weekdays, but on sometime weekends. So It's easy for me to commute with my car.
And can you tell me approximately how long it takes you to get to work every day?
So basically I take only 25 minutes, but when there is traffic, then it can take up to 35 to 40 minutes.
Okay. And do you live in the same city that you work in?
No, I live in Brampton, but I work in Mississauga.
So have a careful look at the feedback I provided for Kamal. For fluency and coherence, Kamal had very minimal hesitations throughout his answers in part 1, and he spoke in a very coherent manner. Kamal provides good fluency with minimal hesitations. This made it easy to follow the information that he was discussing. And for lexical resource, Kamal actually used a wide range of vocabulary and used words such as traffic, weekdays, and commute. This shows the examiner that he is able to actually understand what is being said and give a response with related vocabulary words. But if he was able to provide a wider range of vocabulary to describe his work or study, this would help him score a higher band. And for grammatical range or accuracy, Kamal actually mentions a sentence about it's easy for me to commute in my car. This could be improved by saying something more like commuting with my car is convenient. And now we are entering part 2 of the exam. In part 2, I am going to provide you with a list of questions and I will give you 1 minute to prepare your answer to speak for a full 2 minutes. So before I send you off for 1 minute, the questions you have to answer are, tell me about someone you admire, who are they, why do you admire them, and what do you like about them? So I'm going to give you 1 minute to prepare your answer to speak for a full 2 minutes.
Sure.
Okay, great. Okay, great. Welcome back. I'm going to set a timer now for you to speak for a full 2 minutes.
I admire most my father since my childhood. I saw him working in army, and then after when he retired, he continued work with security officer jobs. And I really like his hustle and the hard work he did. So today I am in Canada. It's all the story behind this all is up to my father. He did a lot of hard work to help me to reach here, and now I have to follow the same path after him. So who are they? He is my father, and he is the one who teach me every life lessons in my life. Yeah, it's sad news for me as well because in 2019, yeah, I got the news he got expired in accident. But the thing it motivated me, the inspiration I get from him, and the talent he have is like he win a lot of awards in the army as well, and I really like his courage. Like he's the one from my whole village who went to the army and really make a big change in my graph of my family, which reached to this point. So my family really support me everywhere, but the father is the one who care a lot. Even I am at the abroad, he is the one who taking care of me financially or mentally as well. He gave me all the life lessons I have now, and I am still following his path to become successful in my life.
So, in part two, some areas of improvement include using less filler words. There were a lot of times where Kamal said, a lot just to fill in his thoughts. If you don't know what to say or to how to respond to the answer, just think quietly. Do not use filler words like because this would actually jeopardize your score. Kamal mentioned something like, he is the one who teaches me life lessons in life. One way to improve this sentence is to say, he is the one who taught me every life lesson in my life. This way you are paying attention to the verb tense.
So now we are entering part 3 of the speaking exam. I'm going to ask you a few questions. So can you tell me, do you prefer coffee or tea?
I prefer tea because I drink twice in a day, and since my childhood, my mom used to make tea for me, and I really like the taste.
Great. And what's your favorite type of tea you like?
I am Indian, so I really like the Indian tea, which have red label tea bags on it, and then it's quite brownish because they put 2 milk and then sugar in it, and there is a lot of type of teas are there.
Okay. And can you tell me some of the tea flavors in India?
In India, they have a lot of flavors there, like tea masala and Kashmiri chai or Kadak chai, and they also have different tea bags from Assam, and they all have different texture and flavors. So yeah, there is a lot of teas in India, but my favorite is the honey tea I make myself.
Great. So when do you usually like to drink your tea, in the morning or the evening?
Well, I drink both time because in the morning I have job, so I drink in the early morning. It keeps me awake and fresh, and then at the evening time I feel more relaxed and calm while drinking the tea.
So when you have guests at your house, do you usually serve them coffee or tea?
We ask them both actually, and yeah, usually they prefer tea, and then I prepare it myself, and then we also give some cookies with them.
Oh, very nice. Thank you for your time. The IELTS speaking exam is over now.
In part 3 for fluency and coherence, Kamal was able to demonstrate a very clear and coherent answers throughout his responses. The responses were generally well structured and coherent, which made it easy for me to understand what exactly he was talking about or how he was responding to the answers in part 3. And for lexical resource, he was able to use lots of different related vocabulary such as taste, flavors, relaxed, and this actually showcased his ability to speak English in these different contexts. And one thing I really liked how he responded to certain questions in part 3 was he actually provided his personal preference and what he prefers. And for grammatical range and accuracy, there was one thing I wanted to point out is that he mentioned that I drink twice in a day. If you are able to improve your sentence by saying, I drink tea twice a day, this would be the correct way to structure your sentence when you are responding to the examiner. And lastly, guys, his pronunciation was great throughout part 3. There was no difficult words he was not able to pronounce throughout his sentences. And remember, this is so important. Do not use words you are not able to pronounce because this would actually affect your score.
Can you tell me your full name?
Well, my name's Masum. You may call me as Masum.
Great. And can I see your ID, please?
Of course, here it is.
Thank you. And where are you from?
Well, currently I live at Uttar Badda in Dhaka city. I basically from Shariatpur, which is northern district of Bangladesh.
Great. And what do you enjoy doing on your free time?
Well, it would be better for me if I go outside or hang out with my friend and family members. I also it is I get some entertainment as well as refresh my mind, and because it is one kind of mental satisfaction. And
Great. And how do you usually spend your weekends?
well, I generally spend my weekend going to outside a shopping mall, restaurant, as well as zoo, visiting zoo. And for instance, today I went zoo, which is situated at Mirpur with my family members, in order to get unwind and as well as to get some entertainment. So it is the most best. It is the most way to refresh my mind as well as time.
Great. And how do you usually spend your weekends?
Well, as I said earlier, that going to outside in shopping mall as well as art gallery with my family member friend to refresh my mind as well as in order to get unwind, and I mostly prefer to do that.
Great. And so, is there a particular hobby or activity you would like to start in the future?
Well, certainly, if I have sufficient time, especially for weekend and even after office, and I will try to involve with gym activities. It is very much helpful. It is very much needed for me in order to be enough fit and also keep me away from many diseases, especially obesity.
Great. So, great. So now we are entering part two of the IELTS speaking exam. I will be giving you 1 minute to prepare your answer to speak for a full 2 minutes. All right. So, let me show you the question. So, the question I'd like you to answer today is describe a celebration that is important in your culture. How is it celebrated? Why is it significant to you and your community? And do you think celebrations have changed over the years? So I will give you 1 minute now and you could go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, time's up, Mr. Masoom. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, in our community, celebration is given high priority. Especially in two times in a year. First of all, first one is Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. Basically, Eid al-Fitr is one of the biggest celebration for the Bengali Muslim, and it is one kind of tradition. As far as I do believe that it is celebrated with prayer, from where a number of Muslim people are celebrated with performing, especially in the daytime, That is the just on just this prayer is occurred on the for Idul Adha and Fitr, and it is very significant in our community because it is one kind of tradition. Not only is that, but also in our community we are used to do that as a tradition. So, well, in many in several ways, this celebration or also the cultural celebration has changed several ways. First of all, in nowadays, all our relatives are invited to get together in any certain places from where they can share and sorrow and their problem as well as joy and enjoy with their other. For instance, last year, I also gathered in one of my relatives' house. At that time, I also shared my lots of uh, affections as well as some mental peace. From where also they also supported me how I can overcome my monotonous and problem. And besides, it is also commonly believed that our relatives also are invited in our relatives' house to another relative house. The way they can our bonding can be stronger as long as we alive. So because as we are social being, stronger having strong relationship is given vital aspect in order to get help to one another. Not only that, but also it's a social norm. So this is because actually these are the ways our cultural celebration has been changed throughout the couple of years.
Great, great answer. And so we are now entering part three of the exam. How do celebrations contribute to cultural identity?
Well, uh, in many ways, our celebration has been contributing in order to promote our culture and identity as we are Bangladeshi. So, it is commonly believed that whenever we celebrate our Eid or Idul Fitr Adha, then if another religion or another country's people see how we gather and also share the many things, and when we show our hospitality, it is one kinds of positive emotion impression. And when this in many times this can be shown to the other cultural people, so it is one kind of promotion our cultural identity. Not only
Yes.
is that, but also our in our Bengali celebration sometimes. I mean, Pohela Boishakh is one of them. Whenever we celebrate in Bangladesh, by this time, our Western people also they often join with us to celebrate to see how the beautiful moment can be created with the Bengali people. So it is one kind of cultural identity as well as promotion, branding, I should say. Actually, so far I do believe that by this way, our cultural identity can be promoted throughout the world.
Great. And in what ways have modern celebrations been influenced by global trends?
Well, uh, uh, as far as I can believe that our young generation nowadays the way of celebrating system has been changed tremendously compared to the couple of years back. So, so far I have assumed that our young generations often feel better to celebrate any cultural program or hospitality over the online virtual communication like video call or posting any photos whenever they take in different types of food items to another people whom, so they often post it and also share some comments. It is one kind of bias celebration as well as to promote themselves or to get to know for the others people how they celebrated or how the hospital invited us. So it is the one kind of change, diversification that can be seen compared to the past for nowadays.
Great. And do you think traditional celebrations will continue to be important in the future?
Certainly, I do believe that our traditional celebration will be continuing until we death, and also the benefit as well as the positive thing will be increased day by day, because it is not only one kind of rules or thing, but also it is one kind of uh, refreshing mind, as well as get together to stronger the bonding to each other, not only family but also our religion as well as the society. So from this sense, there is no way to be loose, to be demolished. Certainly, I do believe that it will be increased. For instance, I mean, our young generations often show lots of interest to celebrate our cultural program as well as religious program. And I mean, even they also take preparation earlier, 3 to 5 days earlier, because they are always enthusiastic to participate, even not only physically but also virtually. So that means this promotion is being increased tremendously, and it will be continued. It will be continued day by day.
Great. And what impact can celebrations have on a communities on a community in general?
Well, in spite of having lots of positive sign of celebrating our cultural program, there are also some have drawbacks that should not be denied. First of all, in our country, celebration, some of the few people, they try to do some illegal activities on the name of celebration, like uh, 31st night. It is one kind of celebration throughout the world, but there are also, it is in many cases, I think it is better to invite the new year. They have lots of plan to do many things. Yes, it is good, but on the other hand, there are also some illegal activities that can be occurred. Some few classes of people. It is one kind of negative aspect that I often relate in our society. So, and although these are the things quite marginal compared to the positive things, so but these other things are remain still now, and maybe it will be continue. So far, I have experienced.
Great. Great. Thank you. The IELTS speaking test is over now. I'd like to provide you with some more comprehensive feedback based on the band descriptors. So, what I'd like to say about fluency and coherence, one thing you were able to do is to keep the conversation flow. You had a few filler words like which is okay because you were just trying to look for the right words to use. And if you want to increase your band score, I would say more than using the filler words like and these type of words, try to say things like, let me think about that. Oh, that's a great question. I'm just thinking about that. Things like this would show the examiner your confidence in actually understanding uh, the question, right? So you're just taking a moment to think of an idea. And another great tip I'd like to say is to try to paraphrase the question. So, for example, I asked you a question like, is there a particular hobby or activity you would like to do in the future? You instead of saying, yeah, one hobby I'd love to do in the future is, maybe you could say something like one leisure activity I'd love to work towards, or I'm very passionate about is, right? So you could show the examiner that you are comfortable with using paraphrasing and synonym words. And for vocabulary and lexical resource, you use different vocabulary words, which was amazing. You had points for everything. But one tip, once again, I'd like to give to increase your band score is maybe use more synonym words, as I mentioned earlier. And then for grammatical range and accuracy, you use simple structures, but not that many complex structures. So one thing I want to note is if you'd like to uh, uh, improve your overall band score, there's two things that I want to say is before I tell you how to improve in this is you did amazing. You had points for everything, but try to slow down your speech and just discuss the main points and make it a little shorter. Your answers in part 3, I felt that they were a bit too long. So I don't want the examiner to uh, give you a lower score because you spoke too much, you know? And for pronunciation, I wanted to say you did amazing. I kept trying to listen in to see if you pronouncing any particular words wrong or letters wrong, but you did a great job. I want you to have a close listen to John. John is actually a native English speaker and has lived in Canada for most of his life. John and I actually had a conversation where I asked him some IELTS speaking questions that you would get on your exam. So I want you to make sure you listen till the end because I provide him with feedback at the end of this video that you may find useful for your own IELTS speaking preparation. Hello, how are you today?
I'm doing very well. Yourself?
I'm good, thank you. What is your name?
My name is John.
And is there another name you would like me to call you?
Well, some people call me Johnny, but you can call me John if you like.
Where are you from?
Well, I'm originally from Spain, but I came to Canada really young, so I pretty much grew up here.
So do you work or are you a student?
I work full-time right now.
So do you work or are you a student?
I work full-time as a software developer.
Do you prefer to work in the mornings or the evenings?
Well, I work a salary position, so that allows me to have a flexible schedule, so I can decide whether I want to work in the mornings or the evenings. But I myself do prefer to work in the mornings because I find myself to be more productive.
Where do you live?
I live in Toronto, and I moved here 2 years ago when I started as a software developer.
And do you live in an apartment or in a house?
I live in an apartment.
Okay, and how many bedrooms are there in your apartment?
My apartment has 2 bedrooms.
What room is your favorite in your house?
My favorite room is my bedroom because I have my home office set up there. So sometimes when I'm off work, I can also enjoy surfing the net on my computer.
So what are some amenities that are included in your building?
Some of the amenities that are included in my apartment are a squash court, a weight room, and a basketball court.
Do you like where you live?
Yeah, I do like where I live because it's in the city and I really enjoy being around people.
And if there was one thing you could change about your neighborhood, what would it be?
Well, it would be nice if we had a bigger weight room because the one we have right now is really small and it gets really busy.
What do you like most about your neighborhood?
I like that my neighborhood has a lot of small parks nearby, and that's really convenient for me because I have small children, and then whenever I need to take them somewhere and if they're bored, I can just take them to the closest park nearby.
What are some changes you'd like to see in your neighborhood?
Generally speaking, I enjoy where I live, but it would be nice if there were more gyms available because my weekly routine consists of me going to the gym.
Would you prefer to live somewhere else?
I honestly prefer to live in Canada because this is where I grew up, so this is where I call home.
Do you like your hometown?
Yes, I do like my hometown because I get to experience all 4 seasons, so it's really nice.
Do you like your hometown?
I do like my hometown because it's really multicultural and there's also a lot of opportunities for work here.
Do you recommend Canada to young people?
I absolutely recommend Canada because it has a lot of opportunities and career paths that you can choose. Yes, I absolutely recommend Canada because it has a lot of opportunities for career growth as well as education.
So where would you like to live in the future?
I would like to live in Dubai because there's a lot of opportunity for career growth.
What are some tourist attractions in your hometown?
Well, there are a couple tourist attractions. One of them is Canada's Wonderland, which is a big theme park where everyone can go with their families.
What are some tourist attractions in your hometown?
Well, Toronto has many tourist attractions, but one of the main monuments people like to visit is the CN Tower because you really get to have a bird's eye view of the whole city.
Can you tell me if they have hair salons in Canada or barber shops?
Yeah, they actually have both. They have hair salons and barber shops. I tend to see women going more to salons and men going to barbershops.
How often do you get a haircut usually?
I get a haircut about once a month.
And have you ever had a bad haircut?
I've had a bad haircut once. The barber wasn't quite sure on what he was doing, or wasn't experienced, I would say.
And have you ever had a bad haircut?
Yes, I've had a bad haircut once where the barber actually cut my hair pretty short. So that was quite a bad experience for me that day.
What type of foods are your favorite to eat?
I really like eating spaghetti, and I like it because you can add a little bit of Parmesan on top, so that really gives it a good flavor.
Do you enjoy watching movies?
Yes, I do enjoy watching movies. One of my favorite actors is actually Denzel Washington, so I really enjoy the movies he's in.
What is one thing you don't like to do daily?
I find it hard getting up early in the morning, but then I realize that I can get so much more done throughout the day.
Do you use a wallet?
Yes, I use a small wallet that can hold all of my cards.
So, one aspect I would like to discuss is John's pronunciation and fluency throughout his responses were very clear and very concise. He was also able to maintain a steady pace throughout his responses. And for grammatical range, John actually used different range of sentence structures throughout his answers, and he also used appropriate tenses throughout his answers. And for vocabulary range, he used a wide range of vocabulary. He used different words such as theme park, multiculturalism, career growth, opportunities, and these are all wonderful words to use based on the topic that was being asked. And for coherence, John did an excellent job because he gave answers that were well structured for each given question. And he also provided lots of details and examples for every question that was asked. So can you tell me your name?
My full name is Ragib Hassin. You can call me by my first name, Ragib.
Great. And where are you from?
Could you repeat again? I think
Where are you from?
I'm from Bangladesh, and right now I live in Dhaka city over there.
Do people use technology in your country?
Certainly, in my country, maximum people use different kind of technology, such as right now people use Facebook, WhatsApp, and most popular app is ChatGPT, because by using this app they can easily get lots of information, and they are also solves for different kind of mathematicals and another problem in their daily activities.
Great. So maybe you could talk about what devices they use as well, such as their phones to access ChatGPT, or their computers, or their laptops. So remember that for the next question. How often do people use technology How often do you use technology in your daily life?
In my daily life, I use technology several times, because right now technology is one of the most important part in our life. Such as I use my mobile phone and laptop minimum 5 to 6 hours for my study purposes, and that's why I have to say that it is a part of my life.
Great. And what is your favorite technological device and why?
I already mentioned that I use computer, laptop, and mobile devices right now, and my favorite technological device is my smartphone, because by using this types of smartphone, I can learn different things. I can take pictures, I can listen music, and watch movies. That's why I want to say that this is my favorite technological device.
Yes, because it's very easily accessible, right? Because you always have it. Great answer. And do you think technology has made communication easier or more complicated?
In my point of view, I think technology made our life much more easier than past, because by using technology, we can easily communicate all over the world, and that will be very easier for us to send any kind of message to our relatives, our friends, and our boss. So I think it's made our life more easier.
Yes. And a great answer. Are there any technological advancements you're looking forward to in the future?
Certainly, I think right now Elon Musk, he's working very hard to doing some advanced technology in upcoming future, such as he's working for SpaceX, and he has a dream to send the people to the moon and to the Venus. That's why I also have a great vision that he might be success for his new advantages for upcoming technology. So definitely, I think in future I'll find out something new.
Great. So, Ragib, do you have a pen and paper for part two? I will give you 1 minute to prepare your answer for describe a piece of technology you find very useful. You should say what it is, how you use it, why you find it useful, and explain how it has impacted your life. Let me know when you are ready, and I will time you for 1 minute.
Okay, I'm ready, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, can I start?
Oh, you're ready? All right, go ahead.
Uh, in this contemporary era, technology made our life more easier than before, and there are lots of technology in our surroundings. But today I'm going to talk about one of my favorite and useful technology. Uh, that name is computer. Computer is one of the most popular and useful device all over the world. Maximum people all over the world they use computer for various purposes, and I use for my daily purpose, such as my assignment, or sending emails, or doing lots of activities such as playing games and watching movies. I find it very useful because by using this types of technology, right now people can doing lots of tasks. They are developing different kind of software that made people life more easier than before, and it has a great impact for our daily life because uh, by using these types of technology, people can do their task easier than before, and they can easily fix all of the problem whatever they have. However, by this technology, people are changing their life and made their life more comfortable. So I think it's very impact or in my life and all over the world also.
Great, great. Good answer. Let's try to think of some synonym words we could use for instead of mentioning like technology every time. Maybe we could say my mobile device one time, right? Can you think of any other synonym words you could use for your device? My smartphone, like you said, is another one. And just so we could show the examiner that we know different words to describe our technological device. So mobile device. What was the other word I just said? About my smartphone, and maybe we could use another word to describe the technological device we are talking about. So that way we can show that our vocabulary words, we could use different vocabulary words to describe and get a higher band score, right? Does that make sense?
Sure, ma'am. I'll
Yeah,
try
great,
to
great.
add some vocabulary.
Yes, great work. Okay, let's do part three. How do you think technology has changed the way people work in recent years?
Uh, as I perceive that technology changes people life nowadays, and the way people work right now from their home, and they can doing lots of financial work, such as some people they work from home, and all over the world they can easily contract with their boss and their uh, all their colleagues, and easily can fulfill their task nowadays. For example, during the COVID situation, lots of people they are doing lots of uh, work from their home, and that's a great advantages of our technology.
Great, great. What are the advantages and disadvantages of people using social media and technology for communication?
Uh, I think there are lots of advantages than the disadvantages of using social media and technology for communication. As you know that by using the technology right now, people can spread lots of messages all over the world about the advantages of our educations and our communication, our society, and new discovery. On the other hand, there are some little bit disadvantages of communication, such as some news media and some people they are spreading bad news or some wrong information that might be very uh, harmful for
Harmful?
our society, or I think it will be very uh, tough for our society that they will suffer by these types of messages.
Great. I like that. I like that you really explained both the advantages and disadvantages, and you came up with ideas. So that was great. How do you see the role of technology evolving in education in the future?
Um, I think technology play a vital role for educations, and in future it might be very useful for all over the world. Right now, people are using multimedia for the educate our children, and in the classroom they are using different kind of technology, such as in medical student they can learn different kind of things by using technology. On the other hand, the engineering student they are getting lots of advanced technology that will be very useful to learn different things that was absent in past. So I think in future they will get some advanced technology that might be very beneficial for their educations as well as their learning.
Great, great answer. And I like that you even gave an example of what uh, children are using in the classroom today, which was great. And in what ways has technology affected traditional forms of entertainment, like reading books or watching movies?
Uh, in my opinion, I think there are some little effect of traditional forms of the environment, like reading books or watching movies. Uh, I think by watching different kind of movies on TV or something social media, people are forget their traditional activities, or our they don't like to travel all over the world. They can easily get the information on movies or books, so that might be affected our traditions, because by using these types of technology people are very lazy nowadays, so that is affected their life as well as our tradition.
Great. Great work at answering all the questions, Ragib. You used great sense of sentence structure. You were able to give lots of details for each question, which is great. Try to, as I mentioned earlier, just try to use a little bit more synonym words. Like for example, if the question says technology, instead of saying I think the role of technology, try to use a synonym word for technology to show the examiner that you understand the question and you could think of another word to mention instead of what is mentioned in the question. That's always my trick to all my students is never use the same word in your answer, at least in the opening sentence. in your answer that's written in the question, because this would score you a higher band if you're able to do this. So great, great sense of answers. Just curious, when are you planning to take your exam?
Okay, ma'am, I'm planning after 1 month because I already seated for IELTS, but at that moment I have made a bad score on my reading, so
Mhm.
I have to sit again.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay. You'll do great. Just remember to practice daily and really you have to identify your weak points in order to improve on them, you know? So you're doing great. I'm glad that you've identified that part 3 is very hard for you. So you're going to concentrate more on answering the part 3 instead of all the other parts, for example.